Welcome to Common Sense Live, a show where we welcome a group of professionals with different opinions into our studio to see whether they can learn from each other. Each episode, we will tackle a new topic with takes from guests and a live studio audience. Let's talk about it.
Hey!
What's up? What's up, Mo? Traditional gender roles. Topic.
Okay, good or bad for the current society that we live in?
I feel like they don't necessarily work as they used to.
Okay.
I feel like as society develops and as expectations of people change, I think traditional gender roles don't make as much sense as they once did.
Yeah.
I do feel like there is a place for certain expectations of a man and a woman in the household, because I feel like it's important that everybody plays their part, so they can be like a team dynamic. Mm-hmm. Because if a husband and a wife are playing on opposite teams, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What do you think?
Just before we started recording, I was thinking about how important it is for everyone to have roles, not necessarily assigned based on gender though. I think everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and I think most of the time you will get paired with somebody who has strengths in areas that you're weak in, and they will, also have strengths in the areas that you're weak in. Okay. So I feel like it's all about capitalizing. Sorry guys, I'm a bit nervous. I'm doing okay. Okay. I feel like it's more about capitalizing on each other's strengths and playing that to the team, as you kind of described.
100%. And I was watching a video actually by Ade Abraham, and she was saying that a lot of people love her. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of people go into marriage thinking that it's 50-50, and it's never 50-50. And then
I think I know the clip you're talking about, but go on.
Yeah, and then when it comes to 50-50, people are thinking about paying dates, and I'm not talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when the husband, for example, he's very tired. He had a late night at work the night before. He wakes up late. He can't take the children to school. It might be in that moment that the wife is like, all right, cool, I'll step in this moment. Mm-hmm. She gives 80, he gives 20. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But then there might be a moment where she comes back from work, she has no energy left. She's drained. She's
depleted.
And she just can't find the energy to cook. Mm-hmm. The man should get in the kitchen and chef something up for both of them.
I think it's, go on.
Yeah, I think a relationship isn't about like, okay, I've done my 50, so now you bring your 50. It's like, how much can you do? Oh, you can't, I'll make up for you can't do. And I feel like that is more so where I think there's more need for that in our current kind of climate of relationships and marriage and family dynamics.
I think it's really nice what she kind of explored as well in that clip. I know the one you're talking about, where there's that communication. And they kind of speak to one another and say, okay, today I'm at 80. Can you take the last 20?
You saw it.
And it's like, there's also the point where it's like, okay, we're both at 30. We both have nothing. Now we have to outsource,
How are we going to figure it out?
Or we at least have grace for one another to cover each other's lapses, where we might get fidgety or we might get easily irritated or snappy. We're able to combat that because we've had that conversation 100%. That actually we're both at 30 and any of us can go off right now. But speaking about the whole, what do you bring to the table and this, that, the other, I feel like we've become very rigid as a society.
I definitely agree.
And I feel like that's a bit of a defense mechanism as well. I feel like a lot of us have grown up seeing parents take on interesting, so to speak, gender roles.
Very interesting.
And seeing how it's kind of panned out for them. And so many tried to go into their relationships and create their own relationship dynamics in a very rigid manner.
I think so.
To kind of protect themselves. So it's kind of like, I will never do this or I will never do that, as opposed to what does the family unit require in this specific moment. Or in this specific season, because seasons change.
100%.
The thing about gender roles is it worries me a bit, because it's like I think it's very difficult to place burdens on yourself based on your gender.
Yeah.
Okay, so traditional roles, when we say for the man, we say that the man is meant to pay all the bills.
Yeah, that's one.
He's meant to be the protector.
Provider.
The provider. First of all, not every man has that kind of strong
So
physique.
men are, okay, yeah.
And that's not to mock them.
But then should she come in and be the...
If she has it,
Okay.
that's what I spoke about strengths and
Okay.
weaknesses.
You did.
And, in terms of finances, I know everyone has the dream,
Aspirations.
that, and it's good to dream. I think because of society, a lot of men put pressure on themselves to be...
A lot of men.
Yeah, to be...
Can we talk about that?
To be rich. And that's not me saying that women don't contribute to that as well. I feel like a lot of the, social norms that we see are perpetuated both by men and women. We can argue about where it came from in the first place.
We can.
But that doesn't mean that we don't kind of push it forward on both sides and, with, all genders.
Yeah. In terms of society progressing with traditional gender roles in mind, what do you think?
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Okay.
Before we go to that, what I was trying to emphasize with that is placing a burden on yourself, for example, with like male, traditional gender roles for men. In terms of finances, we all hear the stats about like, trigger warning, male suicide rates. And I think, I'm not a psychologist or sociologist, so I can't give you like specific figures. But I would hypothesize that some of that is due to the pressures that men face as quote unquote the head of the home and trying to fit into that patriarchal norm, of being the provider and the protector. Not to say that doesn't come from anywhere. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but it comes from somewhere in a sense of, so at some point in the family, hopefully by God's grace, the woman's going to have a child. So in those moments of her life, you would naturally kind of fall into gender roles in that sense where
naturally though some men choose to stay at home,
I mean, can you carry the child though?
touche.
Yeah, so like in the pregnancy, strictly the pregnancy
stage.
Strictly the pregnancy stage, the man's probably going to be the one working, and you might say, okay, those are moments where it kind of makes sense to kind of fall into those roles. So I think society puts a lot of pressure on men to kind of be financially there. And similarly, I think for women, I think it's very burdensome to have the burden of like nurturing and the cooking and the cleaning. So very similar to what you said. I see us as helpers for one another. Especially in marriage.
Best relationships work that way.
And I believe when you love somebody, you won't see them struggling and just fold your arms and be like, that's your role, handle it kind of thing. So you would kind of step in where each other need.
100%. And going off that point, I loved how you mentioned that. Going off that point, if my nephew was to come to me and be like, Abraham, like, what does it mean to be a man? I think going off what you just said, I would say it means to love. Just to love. I think a lot of men don't love. They work and they think that because they're working, their work makes up for the love that they don't give.
That's interesting.
And because they're expected to work and traditional gender roles, because they're expected to work, they don't feel like they can show emotion. They don't feel like they need to be there for every school play or just the little things that mean a lot when in the development of a child. And I think that what it means to be a man is to love and yes, to provide, but to provide in love. So don't provide and then leave love out the equation and think, because I'm putting food on the table, you guys should just be happy, and you guys should just like keep your mouth quiet. I think that's where there's a lot of problems. I think, and that's what I would say. What about like if your niece was to ask you about what it means to be a woman?
That's a very interesting question, but I think I'm still figuring it out.
That's fair.
Every day I'm unlocking new parts of my womanhood.
The keys.
And finding out new things about myself and exploring different dimensions of my being. It's very difficult to kind of place it. I love what you expressed about love. I think that's always a good place without getting too preachy and churchy to start. Yeah, I think it's just showing up every day and walking in the realms of what that day requires.
I think that's a fair, because I think society throws a lot at women. Like no 2 days will be the same, you know. Like, and I think that's right to say.
Yeah.
I think that's right to say.
Yeah, taking it each day as it comes.
Yeah, because I've spoken to women, and it's like it never stops. Like women that play maybe traditional gender roles in maybe like a marriage, it never stops. Like the school runs, the getting the kids ready for school, the cleaning the house, the laundry. Like women, like I said, women that I don't expect that from women, but women that play the traditional gender roles in a marriage, I get a lot. Like it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard, and I even see a lot of. I think the other day I was out in the park, and then I saw like 3 different women, and all of them had buggies. But I didn't see, every man I saw didn't have a buggy.
Interesting.
And obviously that could be coincidence.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very common thing to see a woman with a push, like a pram.
Yeah. And again, it kind of makes sense. Early years of the child's life, most of the time. And also society doesn't make it easy. Go on. I'll let you talk.
No,
go.
It makes sense, but then I think, do you think that it's fair? And when I say fair, I don't mean, do you think that they should because the baby came out of them physically?
Honestly, there's patriarchy, but I also blame capitalism.
Fair enough.
Because if we didn't need money for the family to come in one way, shape or form, then I'm sure many fathers would want to be at home for longer and bond with their children. I think I saw there's a YouTube couple, forget their name right now, but he happened to be working a great job that allowed him to have a year of paternity leave. And you can see how happy he was, like spending time and bonding with his child. But I think sometimes society doesn't allow that. You know, they give maternity leave, but I think paternity is only 2 weeks.
On that point, I think,
is it 2 weeks? I think so.
Maybe. On that point, I think you made a good point. I think you made a great point. I think, but some men don't even know what it means to be there. Right. I think, yes, money does play a role. I'm not going to say it doesn't. But I think that even if men weren't necessarily working, will they choose to take their kid to the park? Will they choose to take their son to the football? Like, will they choose that? And I'm saying that as a man that have spoken to other men, and I'm not saying that men don't necessarily kind of step up to the plate, because I'm graced to have men that have shown me that example. But I think there are many examples in society where even when the man isn't working, weekends, is he with the kids?
He'll say he needs to rest, which might be true. I try to show grace.
But the wife needs to rest too.
I know. I try to show grace towards men, and you know the struggles that they go through. I think I probably wouldn't be able to articulate some of their issues better than they can. But I mean, interestingly enough, there was a video on TikTok. Love TikTok. I was one of those people that said I won't download TikTok. I thought I was too intellectual.
It got me too.
For TikTok, and look at me now, every night scrolling. That's like a ritual.
And posting.
Yes, I'm posting. I saw a TikTok of this lady who, you know, when you do a stitch and someone asked the question, why are women not having babies anymore? Like they were so confused, you know, and she stitched it and she basically said, I'm going to answer this question with just comments from my comment section. And one of the comments was that a man took paternity leave, and when asked to help with the babies, he said he didn't take this to help the woman, he took it to do other stuff. So he, you know, they gave him time off. You just had a baby, go home and be with your wife and your kids. And he thought that was a good time to start his other projects. You know, so you will have men like that. You will have men like that who very obnoxiously, because they believe in traditional gender roles, very similar to the whole, because of those dynamics, they're so rigid, they're not going to, you know, I don't even see it as helping, I see it as, you know, being a partner and, you know, raising your child. So there are some people that are very rigid, but I would say that there are also men that really want to, you know, be part of the nurturing.
There are.
And I think it's so important to have your mom and your dad. Like, you know, we see you know, I feel like we're veering into a different conversation, but I think your mom and your dad, they teach you different values just based on like nature versus nurture and how women end up being generally versus men.
Yeah.
There's different values that they instill in you. And I think there are men that genuinely, and I feel like we're seeing a shift. I feel like we are seeing a shift. Same TikTok, we're seeing men that are taking over and doing amazing things. And the ones that are like rich, that can't always be there, they get the wife like a nanny or a night nurse for like the night nurse comes in, doesn't sleep.
Okay.
The mom sleeps, and
but she takes
so she stays awake, and then gently wakes the mom when she needs to breastfeed, as opposed to her being startled by a monitor. So that's like rich,
privilege,
next level. But I do think we are seeing a shift from like our parents who are very they sit down. They want you to bring them pounded yam and
not the pounded
yam. Bring the omishawa and all that. So I think that we are seeing a change. Yeah. Okay.
One thing that I really enjoy, because every morning I like to do a little, I like to do my little workout in the morning.
Little cardio? Okay.
Every morning.
I hate cardio, sorry.
It's not a favorite, but it has to be done, especially as we grow.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
one thing that I enjoy seeing is that there's this one dad in my area. One dad. Every morning, he brings his son out to play every morning.
You see?
I don't know what if he's working, I don't know. All I know is while I'm skipping, he's playing with his son, and it's beautiful to see that. I don't know if the mother is involved, I don't know, but like you said, we are changing as a society, and that is becoming more and more of a norm. But for me to see that, it's like, I want to have that. And for me, I think you said that, it's expected maybe of the woman to kind of be seen pushing the pram, but I feel like it's important for the man.
No, I didn't say it's expected though. I think we see it more commonly.
Sorry. My bad. Yeah. More commonly. But I think I think it's important for the dad to take over those little kind of things.
So get more involved in the things that mostly we see women doing.
Especially in the early years, because I think a lot of dads are detached from their children because of that.
And I think again it comes back to your first point. I think it all starts from love. I feel like if you love your wife, genuinely love your wife, you wouldn't want to see her struggling. You know that you love.
No, but then I think it's about knowing how to love. I think there's layers to that. But I think, because I think it's easy to say, if you love me, you treat me right.
But I think love is consideration though.
Again.
And it's like, people say, oh, love is not enough. That's because they don't really understand love.
Yeah. And I think it's, because to be considerate isn't easy. There's a lot, I find it.
You have to learn that.
You have to learn that.
I'm not going to lie, last 2 years of marriage, very, it grows you. You become so much better. If you think you're patient, go and get married. Think you're kind, get married.
Honestly.
So.
Is there any other roles do you think that maybe men should take over from a woman in terms of gender roles, or a woman should take over from men?
I think, of course, there are biological limitations.
There are.
So, for example, I would love to offset my time of the month to my husband, but
offset. So you want to give him?
Yeah.
Why can't why can't none of you have it? Why is it that he has to have it?
No, I want to share it with him. This month you take this month, I take next month.
Why can't you just wish that none of you had it?
Yeah, that's a wish as well.
But you just wish that your headache was his headache.
But you asked me a question though. You said, what would I like? That's what you said.
I'm pulling it. Don't mind me.
So biological limitations, I would love to offset that. Can't. Pregnancy, of course. But definitely the everyday, I think is, now looking into marriage is what makes a marriage and a family unit work. I think we think about the big things and, how those things kind of contribute to marriage, but I think that every day is part of that involves going to work and making sure that there's food on the table for the family unit, and we contribute as much as we can, both men and women. Another part of the everyday is making sure that there's food on the table and making sure that the home is clean, depending on your level of cleanliness. So if that's something that's certain men in certain homes are not doing, that would be, if they were to start to do that more, I think it would contribute more to the happiness of, you know, their spouses as a whole. And interestingly enough, I think, you know, if we're going to go a bit sciencey, you know, men have you know, according to research,
Is chemistry or biology?
It's biology. It's biology. They have a 24-hour like cycle.
Men?
Yes.
Talk to me.
So you know how you guys wake up and you're like energized. I'm not saying that you don't wake up tired some days. You wake up, you're energized. A woman has her menstrual cycle, and you know the different hormones that are like racing around her body will determine how energetic she is. So in the phases where so just after her period and estrogen begins to increase, you're going to see her being
I'm taking notes.
More, you know, energetic, and she's ready to kind of conquer the world. And you know, she's able to contribute more to the family unit, to her workplace. She's more she likes to be around people more. And then as she starts to get into the latter part of her cycle, so when progesterone starts to take over.
What was that?
Progesterone.
Okay, sorry, I just need to make sure I got it cleared up.
She starts to not have as much energy, so you can imagine like that would kind of affect how she contributes both to the workplace and the home. Because I think some people always say, people reckon when they talk about work, they talk about just the work front in terms of the office, but I think home is work as well, and you know that affects it affects how you kind of show up. So if, like I said, helping one another, if we can actually see each other as partners, and you know, where can I do more? Where can I fill in more? I think we'll see more happiness.
I think so too.
In our spouses. I hope I answered the question, but
I think so too. I think one thing that I learned, living by myself, cooking every day.
It's not easy.
Cooking every day.
It's not easy.
So for me, I think in love, I realized, even with what you said, I've just had an epiphany, and I said, I don't want to expect my wife to cook every day because I know how hard it is.
Are you Nigerian?
Yeah.
You know those Nigerian men, they'll be saying they want fresh soup. They don't eat microwave soup.
Like, because I just realized that, like, to put somebody through that expectation is heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. Like, and people say meal prep and stuff, but like I haven't got around to that. So I just realized that's something that I would like to take on personally, and I think it's kind of fun. If you make it kind of like what we making this Tuesday? Like, I don't know, like add a little spice to it. Spice up the relationship a little bit. But yeah, I think there are a few gender roles that could do with a little bit of tweaking. Without kind of impeding on anyone's role. Or anyone's like position in a family. Something that a gender role that I'm not really too comfortable with is probably, actually, and it touches on what you mentioned earlier, it's probably to do with the emotional side of being a man. I think men aren't allowed to be emotional. Huh? Yeah. You upset? You're not allowed to be upset. You need to, like, and that's how society sometimes, like, kind of puts men in a bubble. And I feel like that's what leads to kind of like men feeling like they can't speak out and stuff. Me as a person, I love to be expressive. And I feel like I don't like the fact that it's not a common thing for men to say, oh yeah, I love you, bro. Like, and actually mean it. Not love. I love you, bro. Not love. You know, like, it's different. Like, it's different. Oh, I love. Nah, I love you, bro. You know, like, it's hard. And I think that, I think we can scrap that, because the same way, like, as humans, we have emotions that we process. Yeah. And I think that I just wish it wasn't that way. And I think even for me, beyond wishing, I'm doing things in my life to make sure that the men around me feel like they can be open, they can express themselves, they can, I love you. You know, they can do those things. And I think that it all starts with us. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I don't like this, I want change. But what are we doing to provoke and influence that change? You know?
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Ooh, gender roles and expectations from society.
So we could talk about like cooking. You could talk about gender roles. So in terms of gender roles, what gender roles do you understand there to be out there? Traditional gender roles. And then from there, you can probably pick one.
Maybe in relation to like career and becoming a mother.
Talk to me about that.
So I think society has gender roles and they can be quite difficult to navigate. But I think especially in motherhood, and deciding when it's the right time to go back to work. For example, mom guilt.
Is that a thing?
It's a thing. Like is this the right time for me to leave my babies?
I never thought about that.
Yes. So I think that might be a stage that I might really struggle with because I'm a career woman. Media mogul.
Honestly.
So I, of course, love the nurturing side of things, love the empathy side of things, but I've also got like a very driven goal-getter kind of side of me as well. I try to balance them well, but I think it's easy to navigate when you don't have children. But I think when you have children, that's when you're really going to see, society come at you as in terms of traditional gender roles for a woman.
Have you spoken to hubby about this? Or do you have that precursor
of course,
discussion?
we have dialogue about different things, and I think he will be fine. Like he's someone that loves me very much. I'm very blessed to have a really loving husband, and who considers me. He's one of the people that taught me that love is consideration. I'm not as considerate as you think. Like
I've known you. Yeah, you are considered.
Yeah, he's probably one but he's taught me another level. You understand? So he's very kind, very gracious towards me, loves my career. He got me a studio back then, really loves everything I do. So, he's for that. But I think sometimes the, what's the word for this? It's like the againstness. Just for lack of better word, the arrows that tend to comes usually from outside. So you might have a family unit where you and your husband understand one another. You and your children understand. Yes, the family comes to stay over in that first 6 months of the child's life, and I say, your wife does, your husband does.
The whispers,
yes. So sometimes you might have a understanding, and then outsiders might voice their opinions, which might cause some discord. Yeah,
I like that.
All right, yeah, fantastic. For one, really enjoyed the conversation. But yeah, I have a question for Mo specifically, but Ade, you could add your 2 pence. The question is, if you had the option to go back in time in terms of society and the way society was built up, probably like in the 1900s, where women were predominantly at home, would you take that rather than being a career woman and then obviously having to still have your role as a woman in terms of maybe the household or whatnot? Because
No, I'd be bored. So, although I grew up as an eldest daughter and I had a bit of responsibility in terms of, the home, cooking and cleaning and stuff like that and making sure my siblings were okay, I was very stubborn when it comes to like learning the traditional gender roles. So, my mom would be like, Moa, come on, learn how to cook a fork. Is that how you behave in your husband's house? Is that the other? But I was more concerned about my books. So I'm a science nerd. And I was always reading, whether it was the science books or the non-fiction. So you'd find me in a book somewhere in the corner of the house. So knowing what I know about myself now in that sense, I don't think I would go back because I was very stubborn. It was when I was in uni that I really learned how to cook properly, and that was from CCNE. Okay. And I learned how to cook for survival, not because, so, knowing what I know about my personality now, although I enjoy it, like I said, balance, but yeah, I'd be bored.
Again, thank you so much for the panel. It was 10-10. Abraham made a really good comment about fathers that don't, like, if they had time, they wouldn't go out and take the kids to the park or game anywhere like fun. I feel like a lot of it is also learned, like it's a generational effect. Like their dads didn't take them out, or like they saw it in the environment they grew up in. I feel like at the same time it's a choice, of course, and also it's just a effect of like their fathers and fathers' kind of learned habit. But yeah, that was my point. point.
Thank you so much. It was really insightful. I think a point was made about nannies and like night helpers, I think was the word. Sorry,
night
I'm
nurse.
quoting. And I remember like way back, I always have these conversations with my friends, and I felt like when it comes to nannies, a lot of nannies you see are women. So would this track like going through gender roles be only progressive for women in upper classes? Because essentially you'd be offsetting the female gender role onto another woman. So when we talk about like, oh, gender roles in progressive societies, like who is the progression actually for in that case? So that's just something that I've always thought was quite interesting, because there's always an intersection at which we have to look at, and it's really complicated, and then you've got that generational stuff and everything. But I think when it comes to gender roles, is escaping a gender role offsetting it onto someone else?
That's food for thought. That's food for thought.
Hey, thank you for taking time to watch that video. Here at the Common Sense Network, we thrive on exposing you to different ideas. If you're someone who likes ideas, you like learning new things, hit the subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you're first to hear when we have a new video out.